You are watching The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, your escape to reality.
You're going to say something first, Steve?
Yep, happy Friday. I was waiting for it. My delayed. Happy Friday, everybody.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Hey, what's up, kids?
Hi.
What's up, guys?
So, I was just on the radio. I don't know if anybody from Toronto hear me on the radio. They were interviewing me about vaccine conspiracies.
Yes.
About the COVID vaccine. You know, it's all the stuff that I think probably many people have heard.
Yep. They're already saying it's causing autism, right?
Yeah, no, well, the big thing is the computer chips. That it's all a conspiracy by Bill Gates to inject us with tracking computer chips. Which
Microsoft chips, I hope.
Yeah. So, yeah, of course, there's no
Because
evidence for it.
Right, and using cell phones to track people is just too hard.
Right, the technology doesn't exist, and yes, everyone already has tracking devices that they conveniently carry around with them everywhere that they go.
Yeah, that they pay for.
Right.
Right.
You've probably clicked a button that said, yes, you could track everything that I do, yes. And then the other big one is that it will alter the mRNA vaccines will alter your DNA.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But of course, it's mRNA. It doesn't even get into the nucleus, and it has zero effect on your DNA.
Shut up with the science, Steve. That doesn't matter.
mRNA gets into the outside part of the cell, the cytosol. Doesn't get into the nucleus.
Cytosol?
Yeah.
2020 has...
What's the outside? Is that with all the organelles? Or
it's everything outside the nucleus. Yeah.
2020, guys, has shown us,
Mm-hmm.
reminded us how stupid people are.
Well...
Yeah, but we have to, also remind ourselves. I mean, stupid is a vague term, and because it's so vague, it could apply, but it's not. It doesn't track with intelligence, with other unrelated measures of intelligence. It does track with scientific literacy. It tracks with critical thinking skills, with media literacy, those three things. But that's not, if you want to call that intelligence, go ahead. But that's not. But what we measure when we measure intelligence.
Right.
And it's just, what it really shows us is the power of motivated reasoning, driven by just a little bit of tribalism. And I think also just
confirmation bias.
Yeah, it's confirmation.
That's always in the mix. It's always in the mix.
Wait, before we go too much further, I want to tell everybody about the...
Oh, yeah. Go right ahead, Ian.
Yeah, Ian.
So
Hi, Ian.
Hello, this is Ian. Before, actually, last week, we had mentioned that people in the chat like to play a little bingo game of guessing what will happen during the stream or what will be said during the stream. So we made a bingo card, which is available at this link right here. So you can create a bingo card. You can essentially play bingo, although it's called Wolfie.
Wolfie.
See, there's a free one right there.
All right, so that's what you yell out when you win?
When you win, you have to say Wolfie, not bingo. So you can make as many cards as you want, I believe, and we can track them. There'll be a little dialog box that pops up. Enter your name so we can see who wins. I added about 40 items. If anybody has any more, you post them in the Discord. It should be relatively random, but we'll see if I don't think they hit any as of yet, but they're getting close to a couple.
Yeah.
So I'll post the link a couple more times. Here it is. Boom.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll tweak this, and then we'll use it during the 12-hour show. Maybe make the items a little bit less common.
That's
so
right. And I think mentioning the 12-hour show is one item, so go ahead.
Okay.
Hey, mark your cards.
Yeah, we don't know
folks.
what the items are, so we,
Yeah, we didn't look.
I didn't show them.
Okay, all right, so they're playing right now, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I think people can get in. If anybody's having issues, let me know. This is the first time I've tried it really with everybody, but there we go.
All right. Thank you, Ian.
Mm-hmm.
You've earned your pay for the week.
Woohoo.
So continue what you were saying, Steve, about stupid people.
Yeah.
How it's not their fault.
Well, it's like one of those things, like it applies to everybody. Like Dunning-Kruger, like we're all on the curve somewhere. But
absolutely.
It's primarily I think it's mainly this combination of lack of critical thinking and lack of scientific literacy. Mm-hmm. Like there are some things, in order to believe them, like you may believe them because of motivated reasoning and because you're not engaging in metacognition, but in order to really believe them, you have to have a fairly profound level of scientific literacy too.
Right.
Like either one of those things could rescue from falling for that belief. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be sort of a combination of those things. But it's very frustrating, of course. We've been talking about this all year, which is, it's been talking about it for 15 years, but it definitely it seems to be worse. I mean, just some people, like we know people who are otherwise, reasonable, intelligent, nice people who have been rendered complete assholes. I mean, like just complete, knobs, and who believe and espouse things that are completely absurd, like that break your common sense. And we just have to it's an interesting natural real world experiment that's going on out there. And I think it is challenging for us to try to really understand how it's possible that functional people who can go to work and contribute to society can espouse such beliefs and really vehemently, pursue those beliefs. It's not just an offhand comment, like in the streets holding up signs, saying ridiculous stuff.
The idea that Bill Gates is trying to chip everyone.
Yeah.
Like what the man actually doesn't impact these people at all. Like if you do any reading about Bill Gates, you find out that he's a philanthropist. He is he's the type of person that spends hundreds of millions of dollars to save people and to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But that is meaningless. They just hear this bullshit from a friend, and that becomes their reality. It doesn't even take much for it to get in.
Yeah.
Well, I've said this before many times. I just can't wait until I don't have to think about the president for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've thought less of Trump in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you can feel it. I can just feel it kind of going away. Guy's got 31 days left in office. That fuck. And I couldn't help myself. I hate that son of a bitch. Anyway, but 31 days, and then we are free of him as far as him controlling the country. Then, then he can go start his media empire and walk off a cliff, whatever he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a wonderful moment.
It's definitely going to be a change.
But
it'd be nice not to be outraged on a daily basis.
Yeah. I mean,
just every other day.
Right. Yeah. You need a break. Yeah. Every other day. Yeah. We could deal with that, but every day, I mean, come on.
Yeah, but don't forget, the question is, how intrusive is he going to be when he's out of the White House? I mean, he's going to still be throwing in his 2 cents.
Sure. He's going to try.
But yeah, right. I mean, it won't have the weight of the president doing it, but he will still he'll still do it, and he'll still have millions of people hanging on every phoneme that he utters or types.
But Bob,
Yes,
that's
he will.
fine. That's fine. But he will not be 1/3 of the government.
Yeah, I hear you.
That is the most critical part. Like, go ahead. The guy can keep on talking and keep on shilling, ripping these people off, getting them to donate to him so he could get himself out of debt. Whatever, like as long as he's not in charge of like things like vaccines and foreign policy, I don't care what he does. Go for it, man.
So December 21st, you guys know what's happening?
Yes. Well, there's a winter solstice. You can stand an egg on its side.
Longest night. Wait, that's the longest night of the year?
In the northern hemisphere.
In the southern hemisphere, yes.
Longest day. So it's the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. So if it'll be pretty. So go
closest
out.
Visual conjunction in 800 or so years.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but a long time. If you have binoculars, even take a look. But I'm definitely going to break out my telescopes. I wonder if they're going to be close enough that I can get both of them in my field of view at the same time.
Wow, that's asking a lot.
Yeah. I was looking at it last night. Those they are close, and it looked nice with the crescent moon up there. I don't know who else was looking at it. It was beautiful.
You may have to travel. You may have to travel to Mercury to get both of them in there, but
So definitely take a look. I mean, any night between now and the next couple of weeks, it's a good time to look at Saturn and Jupiter, but that's when they're going to be super close. Obviously, only in apparently close from our perspective. They're not really close. So, what else is going on with you guys? Jay, what's your cat's name?
This is Sophie. She was born
Sophie
in 2007. And she's my last legacy pet from my midlife.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
I mean, pre-marriage?
Awesome. Yeah. Yep. Pre-marriage, pre-everything. Pre-puberty.
Pre-kids.
She's really awesome. She's just such a loving cat. All she wants is for me to pet her. That's it. And she even plays with my dog, who's 1.5 years old.
Oh, that's nice. They get along.
I know. It's awesome.
I like how she doesn't take any shit from him, though.
No, she's in charge. Completely in
He's
charge.
got
cat, of course.
He's got 100 times the mass, and she's just like, "Don't you mess with me."
Yeah. Cats and dogs like give me a completely different type of satisfaction. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like dogs, I get like medium size or large size dogs. That's my favorite size of dog. It has to be bigger than
a cat.
two cat body masses. But Sophie is just relaxing for me, like just petting my cat, and she wants love. But my dog, I go out, my God, I was out in the snow with him yesterday. It was so much fun. It was like an unbelievable, series of wacky events. My dog had never been in the snow before, and he went nuts. Your dog did, right, Steve?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had him out yesterday. The snow was deep enough where they have to leap. They can't walk through the snow. They have to leap over the snow.
Yeah.
But he was loving it. But also, like my dog is a herder. He's part Australian, shepherd, and so when he barks at weird things, he's always trying to herd stuff, And so I was just shoveling the walk, and he's barking at the shovel. Like the shovel drives him crazy. I don't know what he thinks is going on. I mean, it's cute, but it's like, it's he does get in the way a little bit.
Your dog is so freaking cute, though.
He is. I keep saying it's a good thing you're cute, man, because you are a pain in the ass.
Ian and I went to the studio today, and we're really trying to get things ready for the 12-hour show. We got the green screens up, and we're like futzing around with the lights, and so I ordered lunch, because we were both hungry. So I got lunch for me and Ian and Steve's wife. And I go upstairs, and we're sitting down, we're eating, and Steve's dog laid right down on top of my feet. And I thought that was so freaking cute, but that's his way of, he wants to be close to someone.
Yeah, my dog usually wants to stay in some kind of physical contact with me if it's in the room. It will do exactly that.
That's so cute, man.
Yeah, super affectionate.
So speaking of the 12-hour show, so we've been talking a lot about patron interaction and things that the patrons can do to get involved or to be a part of the show. So one thing that Ian and I are going to do, we're going to put up a web page where you can do, we're this isn't 100% confirmed, but this is what we're thinking about. And we'd love your feedback. Like one of the things is if you want to submit questions early, like, you have the time to think out a good question and write it out. You could submit a question. You could submit a picture. These are only for patrons, by the way, because this is our thank you to our patrons. Mm-hmm. If you submit,
anyone can watch the 12-hour live stream, though.
Oh yeah, of course.
The 12-hour live stream's open to everybody, open to the public. Yeah.
Yeah, but we want to interact with mostly the patrons that are watching it again, because it's, they got us to this point. So we want you to submit a picture of yourself that we could show on the screen at some point. We're going to be showing pictures. We will be, don't send us something, that we won't show, please. Just don't waste our time, because we still have to go through everything, but unless you want to send something directly to Bob, right, Bob?
Yeah.
And
cool, creepy, outrageous stuff.
Where are they going to
I love it.
You and I have to make a submission page.
Oh, right.
Yeah. This is just what we're talking about, but I'm telling these guys now because I want to give them the opportunity to email us with ideas or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we're going to, of course, have quizzes during the 12-hour show. We'll be playing this bingo game during the 12-hour show. And then I even got a request from the patrons on Discord that they want one of the patrons, like as an example, she's a blacksmith and she was doing something with the patrons, like testing them by melting things or whatever. So, if you have any interesting ideas or demonstrations or something cool you think other patrons would like to see, let us know. We'd love to talk to you about if it's possible for us to do it or if it fits or whatever. But just email us any ideas like that.
Mm-hmm. Somebody wants to see me demonstrate my archery skills. I don't know how well that will work in the studio. We might be able to set something up, but
I don't think so.
Jay, can you balance an apple on your head? That is the question.
I mean, the green screens are expensive. It takes an incredible amount.
You think I'm going to miss from 10 feet away? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not worth it. Why would we even risk it after all the work that we're doing?
Oops. Yeah, forget about the window behind it, right?
Yeah.
It probably, if I used Target tips, they probably wouldn't even go through the fabric, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't even. The Target tips would, Steve. They'll go right through. There's the fabric is taut too. Don't forget. That's part of it is that if it's not taut, it doesn't work well. So
unless you have to take the camera outside, but it's probably going to be snow out there.
Yeah, we have, I don't want to reveal everything, but Ian and I were talking about a couple of really cool possibilities today of stuff that we want to do. So I'm looking forward to it. So I heard that the last episode of The Mandalorian is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen it. No spoilers in the chat, please.
Why would you even bring it up?
I trust these people.
If any spoilers, then we will immediately eject you from the live stream.
You are banished for 10 minutes.
You are banished forthwith. So a lot of science going around. The what's the name of that solar telescope taking really cool pictures of the sun?
Oh, the
solar one.
Yeah. Didn't know this would be a quiz, but
it's I just was thinking about it a couple of days ago because they're
the solar orbiter. Solar orbiter.
Soho? Somebody said Soho?
It's the solar orbiter.
Yeah, okay. Soho sounds right.
The Parker Solar Probe. That's it. Parker. Yep.
Like the closest, highest resolution picture of a sunspot we've ever taken.
Sweet.
I've seen some of them. They were nice. Very granular.
What did we learn?
We learned some stuff. The Kilonova Chasing Gravitational Wave Optical Transient Observer is starting to observe the whole sky.
What does that do with kilonovas?
So it looks like just a regular telescope that with like 4 telescopes together. I'm not sure how it works.
So did you guys hear about the giant hack that happened on the U.S. government?
Yeah.
I should. Yeah.
So
It's enormous.
They think it's Russia, and they got into like thousands of U.S. agencies
using malware.
They also got into 425 out of the 500 Fortune 500.
I think I heard 18,000 companies got
entities.
So what they did was they managed to insert malware into a security update for in a company that provides security to tens of thousands of companies, including the government.
That's it. I mean,
it was SolarWinds. Basically, it was SolarWinds. We use SolarWinds at work, and basically they put a backdoor into the update.
Yeah.
And apparently it was extremely slick. No one had really done something like this before, and they've been sitting there. Now this update was available from SolarWinds since last March. So this has been sitting there on all of these servers for months, and then creating getting access to servers, and just kind of, they think it was pure espionage, just watching and seeing what they could learn instead of other potential possibilities. But they don't know how bad it is, and they don't know how embedded it is.
Right.
This is really bad. And the only upside that I could think of is that I think we're going to be taking cybersecurity way more seriously because of this. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, because if you're not among the top few countries in the world in terms of cybersecurity, then you are a target, and you are vulnerable, and you can't be, in a country like we are, or all the major economies of the world. If you don't have good cybersecurity, you are screwed. I mean,
you're implying that we haven't had good cybersecurity all this time. Is that right?
We are not putting the effort in that China and Russia are doing. They're not doing it because it's asymmetric, because we're more built up in certain ways. It's kind of an asymmetric relationship where they could damage us more than we could damage them using these cyber cyber attacks. I just heard that on the news today. And so they've been putting serious money, serious effort for many, many years, an effort that I don't think we've been putting in. And that's why we need to take this more seriously, way more seriously. And I think that's what's going to happen because of this.
It's scary, though, because you just don't know what information they got and how far in it went. And you got to wonder, how are they even going to know? That's what I always don't understand, when security experts will tell you, well, this is how far they got in and this is what they had access to. I'm not quite sure how we know where they were, which I think is scary, because if they were so slick that they were able to insert this into a security patch. I mean, that's serious. From what I read, what they pulled off
serious
was profoundly slick.
Although apparently they did not penetrate the nuclear codes, but I also read that the U.S. has never changed the nuclear codes from the factory default. So maybe we should get on that.
So the password is password.
Password.
Admin,
yeah. So, it shouldn't take something like this to slap you in the face and say cybersecurity, is something that's serious.
Well,
we got to treat it.
Trump's password was MAGA 2020 ! Or something. You see that guy that hacked Trump's Twitter account?
Oh, really? That was his password?
What? It was like MAGA 2020 ! It wasn't any more complicated than that. And the guy just
whatever happened to two-level authorization?
Yeah.
I mean, you would figure that the president would have people that would be in charge of his password.
He doesn't listen to people.
But password hacking is one thing. Putting backdoors into program updates, that's different. That's not a brute force attack. That's designed espionage, is what that is.
Oh, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And Jay, just to expand on what you said about SolarWinds is primarily used for basically assessing your network and letting you know if there's a problem with any of the servers on your network. Is the server up or down? Is a hard drive space running out? Is the memory pegged at 98%? Those are the things like most companies, I think, use SolarWinds for, to determine, what's going on with your network. So it has access to all the servers on your network, and using these backdoors, they could elevate permissions and then log onto the servers and do all, and see and observe and a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's
Well,
bad.
in my opinion, that company should go directly out of business for doing this. This was ridiculously
That's
harmful.
pretty bad. If you're a
Which one,
security
SolarWinds?
company and you were the weak link in a massive cybersecurity, threat, it doesn't get worse than that. That's bad PR.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's bad PR, and that's why a lot of companies do not even announce that they've been hacked, because it lowers the confidence that people have in the company. But considering the fact that this was a brand new attack, that this technique was pretty new, no one had ever done it before, I could cut them a little bit of slack. Although I have heard that their security procedures were not where they should have been. But the main thing that would get me mad at that company is if they discovered it and then they hid that information for any period of time. If they knew about it, that's where they should go down in flames. If they actually hid that information and try to soft pedal it, that's when I think they would really screw up.
That's half of it, Bob. I think we need to hold the countries which house these hackers, whoever they are, responsible, because they need to be the ones to find these criminals and bring them out. It's not like we're going to be able to go into Russia and figure it out. It's got to be Russia who figures it out and holds these people to account. And Russia has to be put on warning for this in some way.
I mean, but why would we assume it's not the government? I would think it is the government, right?
Of course.
They have no way of knowing that.
I don't know, man.
They said it has all of the fingerprints of a Russian government operation.
Yeah.
This is not a private. Which wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's very likely that some rogue hackers in Russia pulled something like this off. I think it seems pretty. The odds of this being Putin, government backed, it's got it. Putin. I'll bet the house.
Well, I mean, if that isn't cyber war between nations, what is?
It totally is, and they need to be held to account. It
deserves a response. It deserves absolute response.
Sanctioned or whatever. But also,
Trump has said nothing.
He said nothing about it. Yeah. Yeah.
That silence is deafening. So deafening, and par for the course, right? Is anyone surprised? That he has said nothing about it?
I mean, he let them kill our soldiers. Nothing. He doesn't say anything about Russia. There is no him leaning.
Yeah, he doesn't. Our Congress doesn't. Our senators don't. Nobody seems to. I mean, we don't, please. I'll go start going down the road.
I know, right?
But it's maddening. It's absolutely maddening.
I mean, it's one thing for him to pony up to these guys and kiss ass and be in awe of tyrants around the world. It's another thing for him to let them roll on top of us or any other country. I mean, that's the point to government. One of the reasons why government exists is to protect its citizens.
Well, time to start cutting these countries out of the loop. And I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like an isolationist, because I'm really not at heart. But I'm sorry, bad behavior cannot go unpunished like that.
Yeah, but that's why
there's got to be a proportional response.
But that's why we have unions. That's why a bunch of countries get together and they pull sanctions and do things. We have to respond.
Well, there better be something happening.
There has to. We have to respond to things. All countries need to respond to anything that threatens their sovereignty. Right? You have to.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you'll just get rolled over. You can't just depend on the fact that other countries might say something. They have to do something, and the country has to feel it. And that's what he hasn't been doing any of those things. Like he'll do it to China.
Stuxnet virus into their nuclear program or something. Start shutting their stuff, their critical systems.
Yeah, but we have to think about it. We don't want to necessarily escalate, cyber warfare, tit for tat. We have to. I'm not saying I don't know what the optimal response is. I do agree there has to be a price to pay for doing something like that. Although, you know what I mean. But it doesn't necessarily have to be replying in kind. But I think Bob said the most salient thing.
Though, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can respond financially. It doesn't have to be, we're going to hack you now.
No. That doesn't help anybody.
Well, I said something salient, Steve.
No, I think that we need to, by an order of magnitude or whatever, raise our cybersecurity, process here, because this is the warfare of the 21st century. I mean, let's face it, we're not going to be taken down by tanks, right? That's not going to happen. The biggest threat is probably from within. I think this year showed us that more than anything else. But any external threat is going to be more about disinformation and cyber warfare and psychological warfare than anything else. It's not going to be tanks.
Now, some people in the chat were very correctly saying that the U.S. has done this type of shit too. I don't agree with it. It's very easy to just default and say, your country's, it's okay if your country's doing it because we're the good guys. I don't think we're the good guys right now.
No, I think we have to lead by example. Like there are certain things, like if we don't want somebody to do it to us, we shouldn't do it to them. Like that's why it's so important that
but
we.
I don't know if that counts against rogue states and people who are on the.
But there are some things like torture is a good
that.
example, right? If we just have to say, all right, torture is a violation of human rights, and nobody around the world should do it, and then we have to not do it.
And by the way, it's not even helpful.
It doesn't even work. There's also that, right? Or interfering with democratic elections. Like we can't get all uppity about people, putting the thumb on the scale of our elections if we're doing it in other countries. So we definitely have a checkered past in terms of doing this kind of stuff internationally. And I think that do. If we're going to say we're the good guys, we got to be actually the good guys.
Exactly. And I have a really weird question to ask, though. But I mean. And I don't know the answer, and I'm not trying to be obtuse about this, but can you be a country like the United States, Russia, England, any of these major countries? Can you be a good guy and run a country?
Yeah, totally.
I have no idea. Yeah. I honestly don't know, though. I mean, I think it's an interesting question when you think about it. Like, you might have to do shit that
it's not a
the Jack Bauer defense.
I mean.
I'm saying it because I honestly don't know the answer. And I think it's not the kind of thing that you can just have a simple answer to. I think it's a very complicated.
No, I agree. And clearly there are going to be times when we're going to have to do things that, are unsavory, but the best way to achieve, I think, what the ends that we want is by promoting international liberal democracy through treaties and diplomacy. And, I think it's reasonable to say we want to have the military might to back it up. And I also think that having the economic might also is a good way. Like you said, if somebody screws with us, basically, saying that they can't play anymore, they especially if you have a good international, relationship, we could say not only us, but all of our allies are now not going to do business with you for a while. You're in a timeout because you broke the rules.
Yeah,
that's the way I think a modern world should behave. We don't have to go to physical war. We don't
Steve, they have no problem. They have no problem going to physical war with us.
Well, look, Steve. Look at after Russia invaded other countries, we pulled them out of the what's it called, the G8, G10, G12.
Yeah,
we pulled them out of those. We pulled them out of those. Those huge annual, what do you call them? Meetings, discussions, get together. I mean that's big, and I think that pisses off Putin, and those are the kinds of things.
Screw him.
Besides sanctions and stuff, those are the kinds of things you gotta marginalize them.
But absolutely.
So don't go to the meeting. In the meantime, thanks for hacking 18,000 of our institutions and costing us our entire electronic security apparatus.
G12 summit. That's it.
And the G8. They were kicked out of the G8. Now to the G7, right?
Well, now he should be kicked out of every organization, as far as I'm concerned.
No, that's true, Jay. That's true.
I just find it funny.
But it's literally true. Right. Okay. So that's soft power, and soft power in the modern world. For most nations, that are trying to be part of the international civilization, could be way more powerful than hard power. It's good to have that hard power to back it up. I totally agree with that. But because, yes, there are still rogue nations, bad actors out there. But I think the history has shown that soft power could be even more powerful. And I think the goal should be to move in that direction, because who the hell wants to go to war? Nobody. It's a lose-lose. Right? I mean, look at the U.S. And the thing is, the physical war is becoming so asymmetrical. It's actually increasingly to our disadvantage, right? Mm-hmm. Think about Iraq and Afghanistan. Think about how much more military might we had than either of those countries. But you know what I mean? It's asymmetrical because we have a lot more to lose than they do, right? We're using
Right.
$10 million bombs to blow up $1,000 structures. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But you know, because of that, it's almost like it's increasingly a lose-lose scenario to think that we're going to achieve our goals through hard power. And when in fact we should be trying, that's always got to be the last resort. And it's the thing that you use the threat of it to completely avoid it. But this soft power is way more powerful, and it could be a win-win. Soft power could be a win-win. That's why our relationships is the most important thing that we have. Again, the international order of liberal democracy and our allies and our relationship is the most important thing.
And look, another manifestation of that is NATO. I mean, look what NATO has achieved since World War II. I think the existence of NATO has prevented a lot of bad shit from happening since World War II, right? I mean, isn't that clear?
Right. So anyway, it's no one's perfect.
Putin,
no one's perfect,
Putin
but
wants to break apart NATO.
Of course he does. Right. That's the thing. You know, he wants to break apart our soft power. And I know there's a range of opinions on this. We're obviously breaking into, you know, more of our personal opinions here. But I think just the broad brushstrokes, you know, I think are reasonable. But, you know, this is one of the things. Geopolitics has been one of the most frustrating topics in for any American. I think it has any idea what's going on, because I don't think we have had savvy geopolitical foreign policy for decades. It's like both parties are kind of out to lunch when it comes to like dealing with the world. Except for, you know, the real professionals, the deep state, you know, professionals that are not political, you know what I mean, that are more career diplomats, you know, career experts. They really save our ass. The politicians are dangerous almost. And that's why I think the last 4 years, the sort of the war on the internal deep state expertise has been almost the most dangerous thing that's been going on. Gutting the State Department, gutting expertise, and politicizing everything has been horrible. You know, absolutely horrible. Yeah. And you know, it's going to probably take decades to really repair the damage that's been done.
We don't have decades.
And the thing is, you know, I do read a lot about this, and I'll just say one more thing. I like to read, you know, opinions from across the political spectrum, and this is the one area, geopolitics, where across the political spectrum, doesn't matter where you come from, everyone has been critical and of not only of the last 4 years, and saying it's like, really, this is seriously dangerous, you know, to our country. This has been doing lasting damage. That's why, you know, so many, military and intelligence and you know, foreign policy experts, you know, endorsed Biden, because they said, you know, it's not just that we don't disagree. Many of us are Republican or are, you know, again, they're from across the political spectrum. It's not about politics. It's not about ideology. It's about basic competence, you know. And
just pushing the right buttons at the right time.
Yeah, I mean that did not get as much play as it should have, I think, during the campaign. To me, the notion that basic competence and the people who can judge basic competence, you know, was really the salient issue, not politics and not even ideology, not party. But it's hard for people to look past, you know, their tribe. That's unfortunately
constant battle.
Yeah, the skepticism has been a phenomenal tool for like learning to disassociate yourself from tribes, you know?
Well, the other big lesson is that
I like the SGU tribe.
The process matters, right? Process matters. And like we saw with the election, the outcome of the election is not as important as the process of the election. And that's why, again, I think it's so dangerous to undermine faith in the process because you didn't get the outcome that you wanted. Is, you know, I actually wrote a blog post about this because it's, I think it's a very important lesson, you know, that just like science, you know, and I think, Jay, you mentioned like on the show one time, I don't know if I made it to the final cut, but you're like, this is like, you know, Trump is trying to p-hack the election. And while that's not literally true, it's it's metaphorically true. It's like, yes, but meaning that after looking at the results, you're going to make claims about the process to try to tweak it to get to engineer the outcome you want, not just support the process. And again, that's what's been so disappointing about. I mean, we all knew that Trump was going to do it. We all knew that Trump was going to do it. But the disappointing part is how many Republicans are backing it.
Still, even now.
It's just absolutely stunning, the degree to which they are willing to throw the process, which in this case is democracy, under the bus for the outcome. It is like this would be like scientists endorsing cheating to get the results they want from an experiment. And you know what I mean? Obviously pseudoscientists do that. That's what pseudoscientists do. If they don't get the results they like, they make excuses. The skeptics kept the effect from happening, or the whatever. They do post hoc rationalization, and so that's the analogy is perfect, to what's happening with the election. It's like, no, you have to agree ahead of time that this is the process we're going to do and let the chips fall where they may. And after the results are out, you can't then go back and kibitz the process. That is pseudoscience. And what the Republicans are advocating here is pseudo-democracy, 100%. They're trying to, and that is how democracies fail, collapse. And any expert, again, I've read this from many, many, many different perspectives and different opinions, people who study failing democracies. This is exactly how they fail, is when, is undermining the process in order to engineer the outcome that you want. Mm-hmm. And if you convince enough of the public that that's what's going on, then you have an autocracy. You don't have a democracy. And so what were we? 10% popular opinion away from America failing as a democracy? It
was way too freaking close, and it's not over by a long shot. There's going to be horrible violence in the United States because of what Trump did. It's going to happen. I mean, the signs are everywhere.
Well, there's been some. I'm hoping it's going to die down. And it's not going to escalate. But again, we're all in the wait and see position. We don't really know.
The landscape is very complicated because you have people who back the Republican Party but are horribly financially suffering. Mm-hmm. And just the tensions and the anxiety and everybody's anger is way up. This is going to be one of the worst holidays that people have had probably in their entire life, is this one coming up. Mm-hmm. So it's not good. We're poised for some horrible shit, and I hope that it doesn't happen, but I'm expecting it.
Yeah. Somebody pointed out that Trump was undermining the election before the results were known. That's true. And we see this in pseudoscience as well, right? You undermine the outcome in preparation for the results not being what you like. And if you win, then you just ignore it. And if you lose, you say, see, I told you the whole time that this experiment wasn't going to work.
Yeah, he's doing it in 2016 as well.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, we were talking about it. Everybody was talking. We all knew his playbook. There was no surprise.
Right. The only surprise was that the majority of elected Republicans went along with it.
Yeah.
That was but I on the other hand, just to be a little optimistic and point out the good side, the courts totally held the line, even even Trump appointees, and the state and local Republicans,
election officials
held the line. I mean, they got strong-armed. Trump strong-armed them into illegally overthrowing the election, and they just said no. And again, imagine if one of them said yes, and would that have been a domino? Or
That's
imagine
scary.
if it were closer. Imagine if we only needed one state to throw it. So this was, this is like the cybersecurity wake-up call. This was a democracy wake-up call. Yeah. So the system held, but it was close enough that we can't say it will always hold. We definitely have to say, all right, it held, but here are the weak points that need to get shored up. We need to turn...
Short, baby.
Yeah, we need to turn norms into laws. And we need to close loopholes and make it so this cannot happen. We can't come close to this happening in the future.
I mean, a big part of Biden's presidency is going to be to plug holes. It should be. That's what.
Yeah.
You should have teams of people working on it and doing everything.
They do. They have but they have their work cut out for them.
All right, let's switch over to something fun and
Yes.
happy.
Yes. What do you got in
We're
mind?
a week away from a wonderful holiday. Evan,
Jay,
knackfiz me.
you're trying to make a word out of these random letters
I
here?
don't know what's happening. I don't
What's
know what
happening? Oh
What are you
boy,
looking
I don't
at?
think I've seen any correct guesses on this yet.
Give us
people
a hint.
A hint. It's not a number. That's a first hint. People thought it was a number.
Is it are the letters? Is that the first letter of words? Is that an initialism around there?
Well, they are the first letter of words, but it has nothing to do with the puzzle.
Yeah. That was the question.
No. No. It has to do. Okay, so the answer is a letter. Okay, It is not one of these.
Oh,
letters.
you just need to know what the letter is that goes in the middle.
Fill in the
Right.
blank.
Fill in the blank.
What letter would fill in that blank? Okay,
What
that's
letter would fill in that blank? Okay, so let's have it. I'll say it out loud because we're going to be using this for the audio version of the show. So the letters are, and they're capital letters. I'll put it this way: A, K, N, F, Y, and Z. These 6 letters have something very distinct in common. That a 7th letter of the English alphabet.
I know
also
what they have in common. They're all 3 line segments.
Exactly, Bob. So what's the missing letter?
Oh,
I love it.
H.
Yes, Bob. Congratulations.
Nice.
Well done.
That's cool.
Well done.
Wow.
Did I ever tell you guys?
Got lucky.
I forget if I talked about this on the show, but there is a version of the numbers 1 through 9 that are based off of how many right angles or how many angles that the number has in it. So have you ever seen this?
no.
It's really cool. So like the letter 1, it has that up and then a down. There's 1 angle in it. And then the letter 2 has an angle and an
Number
angle,
2.
right? And so then there's a way to draw the letters, and I'm not sure if that was the precursor to our modern letters or not. But I was looking at it, I saw a chart where it was talking about like the angles.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So so the number 9 has 9 angles, right? And every number has that number of angles in it. It's really cool. So I'm trying to find out. I have to do more research to find out if that was the reason why numbers look the way that they do, which would explain a lot.
Cool.
I've never heard that before. I
Let me
don't know
know.
if there's anything
No, I
to
hadn't
that.
heard that one either.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, because we're wrapping up the year, this will be the last Friday show we do for 2020.
Yeah, so
That,
next Friday we will not be doing a live stream. We will be doing one on January 1st if you're, awake by 5 o'clock after New Year's Eve.
And I do accept puzzle submissions. If anyone thinks they have a nice visual puzzle that also translates well enough into audio, in which it's simple enough to go on a whiteboard like this, please feel free to share. I'll give you full credit, and I'm looking forward to solving it as well.
So to answer some of the questions, so to my memory, because I don't have the thing memorized, this is back to the numbers thing. Like the number 7 has like a line that goes down, then it goes up, then it goes across, and it goes like that. Then it has the line through the 7. Then the 9 has a 9, but it's kind of like a G. It looks more like a G. It maps.
But yeah, is it based on just contriving a particular way to write the number arbitrarily to make it have the right number of angles, or is it based on some historic way the numbers used to be written?
To my memory, it was a historic way. But
I think we need to investigate that.
Yeah,
people are putting
shared
graphics
in
up and
Discord.
links. We're being bombarded by it.
In
Say it
Discord,
again.
in Discord, there's Fox J. Will shared it. Says our present method of writing figures is based on an early Arabic geometric design. So
there it is.
Seems like it.
Not
There it is.
surprised.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that going. Like probably language. A lot of words started as onomatopoeia, right? In other words,
Bang.
yeah,
Pop.
the sound is the word. It makes the sound of the thing it's describing, and it did that give an impetus to the first words, and later on, I also like the notion, we talked about this on the show a long time ago, but embodied cognition, where our words were very, very concrete, the ideas that they represent, and then we used metaphors to get to more sophisticated, subtle, nuanced meaning. And we very much used just our physical relationships as the analogy, as the metaphor. So, like if someone is hierarchically above you, we use a metaphor for being physically above, right?
Yeah.
Or you always say that's a weak argument, for the physically weak and logically weak and it's an example of embodied cognition. And there's a lot of it once you start to think about it, there's a lot of it in language.
Okay, update. The viral image is baloney, apparently. It's anachronistic or apocryphal. I don't know. But if I read the article further, people were pinging me that no, this viral image does not explain the history of Arabic numerals.
It's already been debunked.
There you go.
It seems very
I told you it wasn't correct.
Thank you, Jay.
Should we start taking questions?
Well, wait. What about the
Bingo.
the bingo?
Bingo.
It's still going, so
still
people
going.
are clicking some things. Some jokesters clicked a bunch of them, thinking that would auto win. But apparently, Evan slipped in a stealth joke at some point. Evan, did you wave your wand on stream yet?
Not yet.
Haven't yet. No.
Okay. Well,
No, I usually do it during
That's
the puzzle
too
section.
late now. You
Lying.
told him to do
See?
it.
I know. Now whoever has that loses because you cheated.
I have a wand.
Well, let's see some things that I think Jay referenced. Your meatballs, maybe?
No.
No? Okay. 12-hour show.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that we did. Yes.
Let's see. Bob not talking into the microphone.
Oh, my gosh. The SGU breathing air.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Oh my God.
There's a mini J rant, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
They're claiming
That
as soon as
qualifies
you
a J
mentioned
rant?
I don't know.
I
That
think
was-
it did.
It's on
Yeah.
the cusp.
I got a little angry there.
An interruption by Jay's kids or appearance, but it was the cat.
Well, a
so I don't know
cat.
if that counts.
It was
We had a cat. That's an
somebody's-
interruption.
Somebody said Steve yawned.
Uncle
I think
Bob.
that's true. Uncle Bob, people are claiming, but I don't know if
Yeah.
we said that.
No, Uncle Bob, yeah.
Although
no,
I did
okay.
say it now. So nobody currently has won. I think we're still good on that.
We're underperforming. We got to throw
We're
out some
underperforming.
cliches, guys.
Have to,
Exactly.
okay, let's see. 4'1".
Oh,
Well, when Chris is coming in,
300. That's got to be in there.
Order of
Oh, God.
magnitude.
No, it's happening too quickly. See all
Nano.
That's very good.
Wink Martindale.
But
Hello.
to be fair though, because I was going to tell you guys.
let's do this.
yeah.
We'll take questions, and you can try to get us to say things on your bingo card by the questions you ask.
Yeah.
It's a trap. So I found some meatballs in my freezer, and I'm going through. I'm like, what am I going to do for dinner tonight? And I'm going through, and I'm like, oh, I found this bag of meatballs. I'm like, that's what's happening. So
Yeah.
I ate meatballs for 2 days,
Yeah.
and I got to tell you, my meatballs are awesome, and they were even better frozen and defrosted, which if you could imagine,
Really?
Sometimes food, yeah.
it totally
They hold up.
it-
Sure.
Sure.
totally.
We do that all the time.
Lasagna is always better the next day.
That's because
Always.
the spices
Stew.
melt better,
Yes.
and diffuse into it more. Like if you put red pepper in your whatever you're cooking, it's always spicier the next day.
Really?
You almost have to spice not only for the meal you're having, but for the meal the leftovers you're gonna be having on day 2. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All
so
right.
which-
Strategic questions.
okay,
Well, we actually have a somewhat breaking news segment.
Oh.
Beep, 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 beep. So this comes from the United States Space Force's Twitter.
yeah.
It says, today, after a year-long process that produced hundreds of submissions and research involving space professionals and members of the general public, we can finally share with you the name by which we will be known. Guardians.
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
No. Is that a joke?
No, there's an image that says Heritage Mission Culture Guardians, a name chosen by space professionals for space professionals. Sorry.
I mean, that sounds like so
Well-
poorly thought out.
someone's pulling a prank on us, I think.
I mean,
Yeah,
if it's
I mean, you
true-
saw their logo, right? It was basically the Federation.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
logo.
It is
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I
Which,
suppose
you
they could always
know,
change their mind. I mean, it's silly. Guardians from what?
Guardians of
The galaxy?
the ionosphere.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, are they going to do any tracking? Are they going to be involved in like tracking of NEOs, near Earth objects? Or, I mean, you could say you're guarding the Earth from, from comet hits or asteroid hits.
I don't know. Does anybody know what they're actually supposed to do?
I haven't looked into it.
Somebody said Spacey McSpace face.
Spacey McSpace people. Nice.
Yeah, I am
As a military
underwhelmed.
branch, I imagine
Yeah.
they're keeping tracks
Army,
on
Air Force, Marines, Guardians. It's like what? No.
Well, yeah. I'll have to let that cook a little bit. Maybe it's like the lasagna, Jay. It's better in a few days or
Maybe.
something.
It just seems like a joke. That's
We're
what I
just
don't
waiting
like
for a
about it.
question, guys.
Oh, sorry. This one
We had
is,
that breaking news.
This is, please tell us a Christmas-themed novella boys anecdote, which is also incidentally an item.
Oh God.
Oh, a Christmas-themed novella boys anecdote. We were usually well behaved around Christmas for some
Yeah,
reason.
wonder why.
Summers was our terror time.
I
But,
remember. Remember, we had a square, black, tall garbage can. in
Yes,
the house.
I remember
The kind
that garbage can.
that a top clicks onto, right? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And there was like all of the leftover stuff from a Christmas tree in the bottom of the garbage can, like all the stuff that was swept up after a Christmas tree, did what it does over a month of being in a dry house. And I saw that and I said, I wonder how easy that would be to light on fire. And I went and I got a match and I threw a match in there and it started to catch on fire a little bit. So this is how long it took, about 10 seconds. I leave, go fill up a glass of water to put out the fire, go back, and it was, it was coming out of the garbage can. So,
Well, then you got your answer.
so I remember you guys, all three of my brothers, dragged the garbage can out to our patio. We dump it, put it all out. I guess mom and dad were out. You know what I mean? Like this is one of those nights that they were gone. And we covered it with snow. And back then when we were kids, there would be snow on the ground for months.
Yeah.
And then springtime, it was like, what was that? Why is there a black spot? This whole story.
Yeah, remember that? Like when the spring thaw, there would be a lot of detritus that got lost throughout the winter. You know what I mean? That
Yes.
we wouldn't find.
Detritus.
Yeah,
You say it that way? Not detritus?
detritus. That we would find in the spring.
Wonder how Kara would say it.
Yeah, no, our parents didn't smell it because, for one, the fire only lasted in the house maybe about 20 seconds. And two, they weren't home. It was hours before they returned. I just remember I dodged a big one that night. Like that was just the dumbest thing.
How old were you, Jay, when you were?
Oh God, I had to be 6 or 7.
Yeah, I was about the same age when I was, curious about how things burn. How does a leaf burn? How does a piece of paper burn? How does, my miniature army soldiers burn? Maybe it's something with the age. I don't know.
Yeah, curiosity. My son is in the middle of it right now.
Bob and Steve, do you guys remember around 8 ever, setting fire to anything?
Well, yeah, we played with fire all the time. I mean, I would often go to bed laying down, face down, with my hand over the edge of the bed in a glass of water because like one of my fingers was burned. And if I took it out of the cold water, it would really hurt. So I kept it in there until I fell asleep. Oh yeah, I would play with fire all the time.
Yeah, but you loved it.
Well, we had
Yeah.
a fireplace, because we're in New England, and I would do all of my burning within the confines of the fireplace, and which was fun. And we would have like a fire going all winter. And amazingly, there really was never any problem. Like that never led to any uncontrolled fires. All the fires that were problematic never had anything to do with the fireplace. You know what I mean? Like it was always from starting other stuff on fire.
I mean, didn't I mention what I would do with the plastic
Yes.
drink stir sticks?
Yeah.
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 I guess I won't need to say that again. That's a good
Yeah,
fire
but I mean,
story.
any holiday specific stuff. I mean,
Yeah, what else happened on? We must have some other good Christmas.
I don't think we
Stories?
I think we were pretty good around the holidays. I mean, I don't really remember anything that sticks out. We never had any major.
No, the holidays were always fun. There was never, it was always a good time.
Yeah.
All right, now if you want to ask us a question to check off your bingo card, you got to be a little bit more subtle.
Yeah, a couple of them were real.
You can't just ask us to say the thing you want us to say. You got to come at it through the back door a little bit.
I'll go to
Jay,
some
what's
other questions.
$2.99 plus 1?
I'll go to some other questions. Do the rogues think the Biden admin should immediately start investigations on Trump?
I think that what Biden has said is he's going to turn it over to the Department of Justice, and he will neither tell them to or not to investigate Trump. And I think that's exactly what he should do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
depoliticize it and let the experts follow the law.
Right, and don't forget the the New York District of New York will. I'm sure they'll be pushing forward with their lawsuits.
Yeah, but that's private stuff. That's
right.
not...
Right, and that's completely outside
the federal
inside
government.
the federal government.
I did read an interesting thing because there's been talk: will Trump pardon himself? And of course, that's an untested legal move.
Wouldn't he be admitting some kind of guilt if he did?
Exactly. So I was reading an expert in presidential pardons was saying that the Supreme Court has already ruled, it was like 1917 or something, on a previous case, like 100 years ago, that if you accept a pardon, that is a confession. That legally speaking, that has the same weight as confessing guilt.
Right, and they could bring you into court, put you on the stand, and then you would have to answer anything. You can't plead the fifth. You got to answer pretty much anything related to that crime which you just admitted to. And I don't know if that's really ever done with people that are pardoned. But
the point is, like, that's not a good political move, to basically admit guilt, by accepting a pardon.
Yeah, I don't think
and in fact, when Ford pardoned Nixon initially did not want to accept the pardon because it would have been an admission of guilt.
Yeah.
And his advisors basically told him, "This is your best shot, dude. Just do it. Suck it up." His lawyers. But it's a real thing. That's an admission of guilt, So anyway, next question.
Okay. This was kind of for Kara because she had a interview with Brian Deere about Wakefield, but I don't know if you guys talked about that specifically on the show.
Not on the show.
No.
We spoke to her outside of the show about it.
We talked to her about it privately. I don't know that I want to dish on Kara's behind the scenes discussion about
That's
her
fine,
interview.
Jay and I will.
What she no, you're not, because what she wanted to be what she wanted to air, she aired. Right. And if she edited something out, it's not for us to say that publicly.
And I haven't listened to it. So I couldn't say anything anyways.
Yeah. There's another question. What are Steve's thoughts on peer reviews?
On peer review?
It's rubbish.
No, peer review is necessary but insufficient, right? We obviously need filters in place. And, there's multiple segments to that. So there's the editorial review, right? Editors have to decide if something is worthwhile before they even send it to the peer reviewers. Then there's the formal pre-publication peer review process, which is fantastic. If you've ever been through it, it really does improve the quality. Assuming that you have a quality journal, quality editors who know how to do it. At the good journals, it really does improve the quality of the paper because you have the experts saying, you guys need to account for this. I don't understand that. You need to reference this. This reference doesn't say what you think it says, whatever. And you got to fix a long list of problems before it gets published. So it doesn't improve the quality of the science and of the paper. And then there's post-publication peer review, which is basically just the community reviewing it and giving feedback and saying what's worthwhile and what's not. Now, of course, people are doing it and people are flawed, and bad journals, low quality journals would do low quality peer review. And so it's a flawed process, and something getting through peer review doesn't mean it's true, doesn't even mean that it's valid or that it was good. But not having any kind of peer review is a lot worse. We need the editorial expert filter in place so that we have some sense of quality, right? So when you get past peer review, you're now technically in the literature. You are part of a body of knowledge that has a certain respect because it's been reviewed by experts and felt to be at least minimally worthwhile. That's why, of course, it's so harmful when things sneak through peer review that are crap, because it really waters down. And that's why you have to be able to retract, because if you make mistakes, you got to be able to correct them. And retractions are meaningful because you're saying, nope, this does not belong in the peer-reviewed literature. It needs to be removed. So that's my quick summary of it, of how to think about it.
Yeah, there's actually a follow-up question about how do you improve the process to compensate for people publishing in bad faith? I mean, is it just removal or?
So, that's a complicated question. I think there needs to be changes up and down the system. There are flaws to traditional journals because they emphasize impact factor, which motivates them to publish exciting new findings, which are the most likely ones to be later refuted and even also retracted. And then there's the open journals, which are motivated to publish any crap as long as you pay them your $200, $300, whatever. Yep. And so at both ends of the spectrum, there's perverse incentives, so they need to be dealt with. There's perverse incentives to publish a lot of stuff just academically. So I think we need to shift all these incentives, again, throughout the system. For example, there's and you always know the jokes, the inside jokes often display how things are functionally really working. So there's something called a minimal publishable unit, which is the only the kind of thing that an academic or a scientist would know what it refers to. It means that when you're doing research, right, and research can contain a lot of individual, experiments that you do. The minimal publishable unit is the subset of the research that you're doing that can be published, right? The minimal subset, the minimal piece of it that you can carve out and submit for publication in a reasonable journal. And that is a way of maximizing the number of publications that you get out of your work. But that's not necessarily the best thing for the literature, to have a lot of little pieces get published rather than, maybe you should do some internal replications first so that at least, we weed out the really quirky crap, rather than having everything getting published, even when it's preliminary and is not going to replicate and, is not really above the line. So there's dozens of things we need to do to improve and tweak the whole process. And all of these things, none of these things are my idea. These are all things that are being discussed within the literature, by academics, about how to improve the quality. And things are slowly iterating and improving, but there's clearly a long list of things that need to get done.
Okay, next one, kind of long, but it was recently revealed that a Trump health appointee advocated herd immunity, saying infants, kids, teens, young people, young adults, middle-aged, with no conditions, etc., have zero to little risk. So we use them to develop herd. We want them infected. How legitimate or illegitimate is the strategy to prevent COVID?
The strategy is terrible. The herd immunity strategy. This is old news. I mean,
we talked about.
I read about this. This was a new revelation about a specific person who said that, but this idea is not new, and it's been kicked around, even within the Trump administration. And we talked about it. In order to get to herd immunity, you would need an order of magnitude more infections out there, which means an order of magnitude more death and disease and overwhelming our system and. And just spreading it through the the people most likely to survive would not do much to mitigate, the downstream negative effect. It's a horrible idea. It's a terrible, horrible idea.
It's like a lazy thinking. It's kind of
totally,
silly,
yeah, yeah. So luckily that the idea never went anywhere among people who have any sense about what they're talking about.
Next one is from someone in Discord. Question: I just found out I'm going to be a dad. Do the rogues have any science-based tips or resources for new parents?
We got lots of tips. I don't know of any one source. I get, I would say be skeptical of every parenting source out there, because 99% of the parenting shit you were going to read is nonsense, and it's not evidence-based, not science-based. Like Parenting Magazine, not impressed with that publication. It will happily publish pure speculation, pure pseudoscience. So
What,
I don't
Steve, what
know.
about the idea? What about the idea, Steve, of that trying to tweak your kid to make them smarter or this or that? Your kid is going to be what they're going to be in a lot of ways that you have no impact on.
Right.
So there are things that you should focus on, and things just don't even worry about it. They will come together, and it'll be what it'll be.
So the thing you have the most influence over is your relationship with your children, and so if just focusing on that is the best thing. Give them time, give them emotional support, give them attention. And I wouldn't sacrifice your relationship because you think you're going to craft them into whatever, some kind of, uber person that you want them to be. All you're going to do is sacrifice your relationship with them, and then they're going to become the person that they're going to become.
Long-term, yeah.
That's what the evidence shows.
Long-term deficits.
And also, it's sad to say, but their peers have a much greater influence on them than you do. And what your effect is primarily on your relationship with them. But having said that, there's lots of things you could do to make your family life easier. And so it may not affect their ultimate personality at 30, but in terms of like how well behaved they're going to be in your house, certainly developing strategies for that. So what I would say is look for actual experts who are basing their advice and referencing published research, not somebody who's a guru or just speaking off the cuff or whatever, making shit up. Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't have references off the top of my head because all my kids are grown now. But look for reliable sources like you would any general scientific reliable source, and you can usually tell when someone's saying this is what the research shows, as opposed to this is what I think should happen, and it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
No baby Mozart, no baby Einstein.
Yeah, that's all nonsense.
Don't rely on any of that.
I think Baby 411, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was a book that my wife and I researched and bought it, and it was totally science-based. And it answered tons of questions like what to do under certain circumstances. But you could ask your pediatrician. You have a pediatrician that should have been involved with you from the moment your child came home from the hospital. They usually are awesome resources for the latest and greatest books. But you got to, we've definitely said this before on the show, you have got to find a science-based pediatrician.
Yeah.
We interviewed our doctor, and, we just will not settle for anything other than 100% science-based. They have to be completely and utterly into giving vaccines and none of this shruggy bullshit. You want someone that is firm about things like that.
Yeah. And the other reason we can't just give you references because the science changes, like what the best advice 10 years ago is no longer the best advice. And so you want somebody who's up to date on the literature and is telling you advice based upon that.
Right.
It's not easy though, and you're gonna have to sort through a ton of bullshit to get to science-based advice.
Get ready, because once you have that baby, man,
comes out of the fucking woodwork.
Yeah, and your friends and family, you'll hear the craziest shit from people that you know, right?
So Amanda said she asked me if this is a green screen behind here, and I take that as a great compliment. But no, it's not a green screen. I just threw this together this afternoon, and plus I don't think there's a green screen with an image that will have this guy in it. Come on. This is one of my favorite zombies. He's probably one of the creepiest things I have, and I don't put him out very often because he's a kid. It's kid sized, so that's kind of like a gray zone you got to be careful with. And he's just really super nasty. Plus, his brain is exposed. So so this is definitely not a green screen.
Also, I think we got a legitimate F-bomb from Steve, which is on a lot of people's
Nice.
cards.
Really?
Yeah, that was
So, a couple
spontaneous.
people.
Yeah.
A couple of Wolfies, I think, in the chat, maybe.
Von Wolfie.
Von Strieken.
Oh my God.
All right. I think we got one more question.
Okay, maybe along the lines of what you were saying before, how do the pay-to-publish journals rationalize their existence?
Oh God.
Money.
Because they make money.
Yeah. I
They don't
know that
rationalize.
try.
They don't rationalize their existence. They actually give people the feeling that they have been published.
All right, but here's the thing. There are totally legit, open access pay-to-play journals, and the rationalization, the justification for that business model is that you don't have to advertise, essentially you don't have to make money in other ways, and you could therefore have purely science-based editorial policy without worrying about how is this going to affect our impact factor and therefore our ad revenue or whatever. You could say, we'll just publish things that are good to publish. Everyone pays the same amount to cover the publication costs, and that's it. But again, any legitimate model can be abused. And so what you're asking about is the abuse of that system, not the system itself, because the system itself is perfectly legitimate. But the abuse of it, because the people who are doing it get into it who are abusing it are doing it to make money. I don't think they excuse that. That's just what they're doing. Right? If you're putting out shit just to charge as many people as possible, you're just faking your way through the peer review process.
Yeah, that's like, I remember when I was researching, I was very much wanting to get published. I used to write poetry. I still do, but I used to write it thinking, oh, I'm going to get published. And I remember like I got on some mailing list and I got inundated with, the books that say, we'll publish you. What they do is they publish a couple of books a year and they just publish any random.
Mm-hmm.
There's a vanity press, they would call that. You could,
yeah,
essentially self-publishing a book. Yeah. There's an interesting story. Before the podcast, I was contacted by a vanity radio station.
I remember
Although I didn't know that that's what it was. I didn't know that such things existed. It was just a radio station saying, hey, we're looking for new hosts, to have a segment. Like, I would like to have an hour segment on our radio, program. And it was sold to me as we're recruiting, talent to do radio shows on a local radio station, and gave me all kinds of stats on the power of the transmitter and everything like that. And so Perry and I, all of us by then, Perry and I mainly, but Forrest basically wrote a radio show, this is before the podcast. We wrote a skeptical radio show. I pitched it to them like, this is great. We'll definitely have you on the station. So, but the whole thing was a scam. The whole thing was a scam from soup to nuts. It was a pay-to-play radio station. They were asking me to essentially buy an hour of their radio time, right?
Ooh.
And this is now the thing is,
MLM hits the radio mark.
Oh, totally. So the thing, so some people do this knowingly because they're doing it to sell their company.
Right.
Right. It's like basically an hour-long ad for your service or for your company. But that's not how it was pitched to me. So I don't know if the radio station was scummy or just this salesperson was scummy, because everything she said to me was a lie. And then when I called her on it, because I researched everything she said to me, she had an excuse for everything. So one of the things, she's like, we transmit at, I forget, like 500 megahertz. But the time slot she was selling me only transmitted at 50 megahertz. So I looked it up and I confronted her. I was like, well, then she said, well, those are due to the regulations. Our license only allows us to, after 5 o'clock, we have to transmit at 50. I'm like, I don't care why. I only care that you lied to me about what I would be transmitting at, right? 50 megahertz basically meant the guy across the street would be able to hear the show. And so anyway, it was a totally scummy pay-to-play radio station, unbelievable. And of course, I told them to go F themselves, which I realized what they were doing. But it was interesting. I've never encountered that before or since. But the good news is a lot of the prep that we did for that radio show turned into the SGU podcast.
It was.
know?
It was the forerunner. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting
funny
little
how-
SGU history.
It's
Got our
funny how,
juices flowing.
like
Yeah.
other events like that can actually bring about something good, right?
Yeah.
Like we're influenced by everything that happens to us, good, bad, and indifferent. It influences us in one way or another.
Right.
All right,
Um,
it is 6:20.
Well, actually, one final question.
Oh my
Where
God.
can somebody go to support the SGU?
Oh well,
Hmm.
I'll tell you.
Who cares?
Jay, do you know?
We have a vegetable garden that we need help with.
Now,
You could go to patreon.com/skeptics guide and you could become a patron. Becoming a SGU patron not only gives us the resources that we use, and we use all of it to do everything that we do on the SGU, but it also gives you access to a lot of extras for the SGU if you're interested in having more things to listen to. We have premium content. We also have, we do, whenever Ian and I are together, we do the Patreon lenses where you get videos and clips of what we're doing behind the scenes stuff. There's just a whole ton of things that you can go look up depending on what level you join. But yeah, I mean, we appreciate whoever mentioned that. We appreciate the question because it is people like our patrons that make this show, the podcast, this live stream. It makes it all possible. Like we wouldn't be able to do it without you. So first off, thank you. And if you're interested, or if you've been wanting to support us, now would be a great time.
yep. And we're still at number 50 on the most popular podcasts on Patreon.
Oh boy, yeah, we got to break into the top
Exactly
50.
right.
Yeah, goal
Yeah.
for 2021.
Yeah. And we're not that far away from a 24-hour show.
A couple hundred more.
Oh my God.
700? I think we're 700.
Are you guys
Oh,
looking
wow, that's going to
forward?
happen.
You're looking forward to the 24-hour show?
I mean, look, to me, Ian, you know as
Yes.
good as I do because you're the guy
Yes,
I
we
do
are.
it with.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of work when
Easy.
Steve's goes like this, 3 months of work will ensue after he says we're doing X. So I'm always
Hey,
looking
but
at the
if
work
we
side of it.
if we do the 12-hour show, how much more work would it be to then do a 24-hour show?
Right afterwards?
Wait, let me do the math.
Let me put it to you like this, Steve.
I think it's
Ian and I put
exponential.
together a list of things that we want for the studio today, and it was very expensive. So
Yeah, but I'm saying once the studio's in shape and it's running,
yeah, it is in
Also,
shape. We're
One
in
of the
pretty good
items
shape.
on the Wolfie card is pre-complaints about not looking forward to do the 24-hour show.
I
oh, you know us so well.
as much as I complain, like I got to be honest with you, I absolutely love the work that I do, and I love working with I work with Steve and I work with Ian, and primarily those are my co-workers, and I love it. We have a great time. It's always challenging, and it's always fulfilling, and I'm super lucky to be doing what I'm doing. But that said, I am not shipping you anything. You will never be shipped anything directly by me ever again.
we will do it through a third party.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
And I don't think anybody got Wolfie. Did anybody legit get Wolfie other than people that just randomly clicked?
Maybe I'll help somebody. Fusion. I just said fusion.
No. That's a good one.
So, this is our last Friday live stream for 2020, guys. Thanks. We really appreciate so many people showing up. It's been a lot of fun. I love reading through the chat window while we're doing this.
I got you all a Christmas card, viewers. Here it is.
Okay.
There's your Krampus card.
Krampus.
I got it for
Love
just
him,
you.
love him.
So we will pick these back up again in 2021. And we'll see how they go. Kara, is too busy with her PhD, that little PhD thing that she's trying to do. And when she gets her PhD, nobody call her doctor because it's not a real doctor.
Don't forget, you can fill out the year-end in review show. We have a year-end show that we do. You can go to theskepticsguide.org/.
We're recording that on Tuesday, so you got to do it before that.
Yeah, do it this weekend, guys. We need
this
Wrap up
weekend.
2020. I'll post the link in the chat.
Wrap
real
up
quick.
2020. Okay.
Yep. Fusion reactor 300.
All right, guys.
Good night, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank
Have a good
you.
weekend.
Happy
Enjoy The
Festivus.
Stay safe.
Mandalorian.
Please stay safe. Safe.
2020. Hold on, I gotta post the link first, and then
Yes, post the link
Happy-
first.
All right, awkward
Happy
silence.
Awkward
Do
silence.
something. Do
Oh, God.
something.
There's
good
someone
for
wanted a
someone
Jar
you
Jar
love.
card, so there's
Dead
Jar
air.
Jar
Yeah.
Binks. for
Happy
you.
Saturnalia
God,
to
I
all.
hate that face.
Merry
Good night,
Krampus.
everybody.
Dead air. Dead air. Dead air. Here we go.
There, there. Bye, guys.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.